Hi everyone, today's video is going to be this page here from Botanicum by Maria Trolle. Now I've chosen this page because I've been asked to colour it by Billy, who is a supporter on Ko-fi, and I had the request to do the page, so as they're a supporter I thought that I would do so. Now I am having a little look at the page and thinking about colours. I'm doing Prismacolor, by the way, just because yesterday I did a Chris Cheng Prismacolor picture. You know, following one of her videos, and so it's just put me in the mood for using them. It's as good a reason as any, isn't it? So I'm trying to decide what colour. The flowers, I'm going to do them all the same colour. And I'm thinking we've got this moonlight sky scene going on, so it's dark. So I'm thinking maybe something darker. And I'm also thinking maybe cold colours might be better for sort of nighttime rather than sort of, so not oranges or yellows so much as, which was my original thought. I thought they'd look really nice in yellows, oranges, reds. But so I'm thinking maybe a sort of pinky reds, purples, pinks, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to start with the pink. Okay, it's just a plain pink. And I'm going to colour all of the petals with this, just really lightly, just to get me going. Okay, and chatter to you at the same time. Now, I know not everyone likes Prismas. I didn't used to. I sort of got used to them, and they are very different to the harder pencils like the polychromos, for example, which I know a lot of people like. However, I do have a comparison chart for the colours between Prisma and Polys, so there's that available if you're not wanting to use Prismas, and I have them for other brands as well, I think. So anyway, have a look in my Ko-fi. In my description of my video, there'll be a link to all my Prismacolor comparison and swatch charts, so you can go and have a little look, and they're all free to download. You don't have to print them or anything, you can just download them, look at them on your screen. You can print them if you want, it's completely up to you, but they're all there for you. And they're even available for you to swatch if you would rather swatch them yourself than just look at mine. But I think sometimes if you only have the one set, it's quite good to look at the swatch. But anyway, they're there for you. But if you have a set of pencils and I haven't done a chart, let me know. I can do one for you. Well, for everyone, you know, I'm sure other people will benefit too, not just you. Obviously I need to have that set of pencils, so I may not be able to do it, but I can usually whip them up. I usually takes me sort of half a day to a day. It depends on the how well I know the pencils, how well it goes. Sometimes I think, oh, these all match, and then I look at them and go, ugh, no they don't, and have to redo it a few times. But you know, it depends on the pencils, as I say, and sort of my luck, I suppose. So that, I think these are all the petals. The leaves have got this sort of veins details. I'm just going to move down here and do this one. I could come a tad closer, it's not really anything to see. I'm just colouring it in a light layer. Now if you're using a hard pencil rather than a soft one, at this point there isn't very much that you need to do differently. Just make sure you don't press too hard, whatever pencil you're using. These are fairly vibrant, so they show up quite a bit. Don't try and copy the vibrancy if you're using a pencil that isn't as intense, because you will be pushing down too hard or adding too many layers. Just go for a slightly paler finish, you know, it's fine. So what else have I got to say? Yes, someone contacted me actually a while ago. I may have already set this up by the time the video goes out, to suggest that I asked for, because I've been talking about sponsorships for videos, that it would help me. She suggested that I just get viewers to sponsor, to have a little shout out. Anybody, not, you know, not necessarily, you know, I was thinking more the sort of big companies, the Der ones, the, I don't know, you know, whatever, book publishers or whatever. But she was saying, why don't you just get people to do it? They can have a bit of a shout out. I was like, it's a really interesting idea. So I'm just in a process of setting that up now in on Ko-fi. So basically I have done it in, I've decided to do it in 2 levels. I might change it, but I've been thinking about it. So I'm thinking just a shout out going, this video is sponsored by X, thank you for your support type thing, at 1 level for a sort of cheaper price. And then a higher price I could say, do a shout out for someone like a happy birthday, anniversary, you know, a little bit more information maybe for a bigger price, I don't know. And then I had thought, you know, I could do a page, colour a page for someone if they wanted one. But the person who suggested this, who was Dawn, she said that might not be so good because you might end up colouring pages you don't like and make it less fun for you. It's a good point, in a way, but most books I have, I aim to finish. So I've just realised the sun's coming in and putting a shadow across the page of them. Let me just reach the blind. Sorry, the light and the camera will adjust slowly, but as I say, it's not much to see at the minute. She has a point, but most books I aim to finish. So even pages that I'm not so keen on, I'm going to colour. But obviously if I do it on camera, it might not look as good as one that I'm enthused about. I don't, you know. So that's interesting. So I have set that up so you could pay a bit more and have a page of your choice, but I'm sort of not sure. And I also thought maybe you could choose. I'm trying to work out what this is. Is it part of this stem? Yeah, I'm going to leave it as part of the stem. That's what I think it is. And you know, would you want to also choose the pencils that I use? Because, you know, it'd be a bit annoying, wouldn't it, if you picked a page and then I coloured it in pencils you didn't have, so you couldn't colour along. Or you could, but it would be harder. So I was thought that might be an additional option. And it obviously makes it harder for me because certain pages to me say I want to be coloured in a certain pencil. You know, they speak. Have you ever heard that? No, what I mean is, if a page is really detailed and small, I would never use this Prismacolors. Now obviously on this page there are a few little details, but not many, you know, but if I was colouring a tiny thing, whatever it might be, I wouldn't choose a pencil that I need to sharpen about 1 billion times to keep its point. That would sort of, I wouldn't even do that if I wasn't videoing, but if I was videoing I just had to be constantly sharpening, and it's going to, I think it might be a bit annoying for people watching. I don't know, it might not be. So that might be slightly limiting, but also take me out of my comfort zone isn't necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, I'm pondering now that leaf or petal? Petal. That's the edge of the page. I think that's a leaf. So I'm going to move down. This is definitely a petal. Yeah, so it's I'm thinking it through because yeah, she was saying, you know, I was saying how, you know, I needed to make sure that I was getting enough in from the channel so that I'd have to go and get a job. And obviously she was like, I don't want you to do that. So I know. I actually saw a job advertised today that I think I could do. I was like, I've seen it advertised before and they've advertised it again, which means no one's, or not enough people have applied. But it's a weekend job, which isn't ideal because, I mean, it has pros because it means that I'm not having to be here for the children or anything because the husband will be here. I don't know what that is. Why is that there? I'm just going to colour it. But it means that if we have any family get-togethers, they usually happen on a Sunday, and this was a Sunday job. So it's really awkward. And then I started remembering that my son, we don't like to leave him alone because he's had a few seizures and it worries us if he's on his own. So I never leave him on his own. So I'm like, how can I go out and get a job? I can't, I'd be leaving him. So I think this here is also a petal. So that sort of struck me as well. Right, I'm going to come in as close as I can without chopping off any petals. I think I'm going to have to go out a tad. There we go. Right, so that's our pink. We're going to move on to a new colour. I want to go a little darker. I'm just looking what I've got. I'm going to grab some processed red now. I'm thinking about firstly these centres. I think they're going to be darker down in this middle. So what I'm going to do is just put a bit of processed red down here, just in the centre. It doesn't have to be too accurate. You don't have to make it look exactly like mine, is what I'm trying to say. All I'm trying to do is add a little bit down here and then taper it out like that. So you can sort of do it your own way. Don't worry too much if you colour over these. I can deal with them later. Naughty things. And also maybe a little bit in there where it's in here. Do you see where it's sort of overlapping? Might be a little bit darker. Yeah, I think that's enough of that one. Might just go over the centre a bit. Just the same on all of them. It's my first sort of thought. I'm also thinking about the fact that we've got a moonlit sky. Can you see the moon? It's not in, I've cropped it out now, I've zoomed in. Now, that's going to be throwing out some moonlight onto the edges of the flowers. So I'm thinking that maybe the bottoms, the lower parts, will be darker. So I just don't know what that bit is. I'm just going to sort of pretend it's part of this, I think, because I can't work it out. So I'm thinking that in a minute I'm going to grab a darker colour and do the bottom bits a bit darker. You'll see. I'm just going to vaguely colour away and see what happens. I hope that's okay. It'll turn out. I know it will, but it'll take a few layers to get itself developed, shall we say. Maybe a bit in there. There we go. Oh, top one. Getting too anxious to move on. Yeah, so I'm just, you know, I'm sort of musing the idea. I've thought about it overnight, developed it a little bit. You know, I don't like to rush into these things too quickly because I am prone to doing that. And I just want to make sure it's right. And it sits right with me, if you know what I mean. You know, it's, you know, my son says, oh, it's horrible asking people for money. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But on the other hand, if you want to keep providing a service, you know, it's really hard. But anyway, it's not like you have to do it, you know. I'm not asking, I'm not forcing anyone, and I totally understand that people are struggling a bit. This is mulberry, and that's, I don't want you to. I certainly don't want anyone to. I'm going to do the sort of bottoms with this. Like this. I certainly would hate to think of anyone struggling because they had felt they needed to give me some money. That would be awful. But, you know, I'm thinking, you know, I think it's like, because I don't pay for any YouTubers. I'm not a member. I do subscribe, but I've given a donation once. You know, I don't do a lot myself, but I'm just sort of going at the bottom of everything, lower, you know, to give a bit of sort of shadowy look. We'll add to this after. But I sort of think, well, you know, I pay my television license each month, and if I didn't have a TV, then YouTube would be my only source of sort of entertainment. whatever. But also I don't watch a lot of YouTube. Maybe I should. I don't know. I might get some ideas. But I don't really have time to watch and record, and you know, I watch a few, I think I do a bit on the bottom of that one. I watch a few quizzes on TV, and then when it comes to things like, as I've been saying lately, you know, got Olympics and Wimbledon and things, I watch a bit of sport, but I don't really watch a lot. So you know, so weekends in the summer I don't watch anything. In the winter we've got Strictly and Come Dancing, which I like, but in the summer there's nothing on. I don't think so anyway. I think it's Britain's Got Talent on at the moment, I've noticed on the weekends it seems. But it puts me off that, what puts me off that show is that there are acts that seem to be put there for us to laugh at. Don't like that. It's better as you get towards the final part, because they've sort of weeded out those. I don't know the right word. And then you get this sort of nice ones. The ones that are good, the ones that we aren't supposed to be laughing at, I just don't like. I don't like that mentality. I think it's nasty. We should be laughing at people. But, you know, if they're purposely doing it because they know it's funny, and they're doing it to entertain, that's very different to not realising. Do you know what I mean? And poking fun. I do think some of the acts are put there, are scripted, to be honest. And the ones that look like they have, some of the ones that look like they're placed there for us to laugh at are actually just very good actors, I reckon. But that's just my theory. But even so, I don't like it. I don't want to encourage it by watching it. I just don't like that sort of thing. But, you know, different people have different things. And it's good if people are laughing. That's nice. You know, it's healthy for us to laugh. But just, yeah. Right, so we've got a little bit of more colour down at the bottom. I want to make that even darker. I'm carefully choosing. I don't want to unpick. The Dahlia Purple is rather nice, but it bleeds into white pen. This is the black grape I'm going to use instead. And I wasn't sure whether it would... I'm going to go carefully along the edge, look. I wasn't sure whether it would... I might want to put some white pen on this, and then I won't be able to put it on top of those bits because they'll just go neon. You see, I'm just putting a little bit of really dark here. And I'm going to sort of mark out some of those shadows as well. And yellow. But we'll pop it down here. So, yeah, I'm not watching much TV at the minute. And as I say, don't really watch much YouTube. Although my husband's told me he wants me to watch this video he was watching this morning. It was an interview with Mr. Beast, and it was talking about, he had some sort of tips for YouTubers and stuff, but I think sometimes I'm not a big enough channel to be able to do some of the stuff. Like he was suggesting ABC testing on thumbnails. Now what that means is that you design different thumbnails for your videos and then you release them either at different times or show them to different people so that you can tell which are working the best. I think that's fine for him when he's got millions and millions of people, but for little me, you know, I don't think I have a big enough audience to test it on. Can see it developing, yeah, compared to this one. I'm just sort of gently building up some layers of colour. So I feel that it's not necessarily right for me, but I will watch the video later, and it's a 1 hour 40-minute video. Like, whew, it's a big commitment, but I shall do it this evening when I'm too tired to record, and just have a little. I've got some books I want to read as well. They aren't YouTubing books, but I'm trying to find all the time. I'm just in the mood for recording lots of videos and stuff, so that means then I have lots of editing to do and things like that. So it sort of eats into other time, but that's okay because I'm enjoying it. But it just means I haven't read my book for a while. I'm reading a social psychology book, which is interesting. It's social psychology because I studied psychology at uni. I did a master's in the end, but I couldn't use it in my job. It's a long story. I've probably explained it before, but I'm not going to do that now. Anyway, so I've got an interest in it a lot, but social psychology was not really its own discipline when I was back in the day, you know. So someone very kindly sent me a book on it, which I'm finding really interesting. So I'm sort of slowly reading it because it's a big, thick old American textbook, you know. I say American because I find it interesting because I've never had an American textbook before, and it just has a few sort of different terms, not technical terms, because in psychology they're all standardized, but just different things. I find that quite fascinating. You know, I've said before how I'm interested in language and the way we speak. Even though we speak the same language, we speak a bit differently. I find that quite fascinating, so that's all good. And yeah, it's interesting about you know, there's a thing about lying and how actually we're not very good at detecting liars. It said we all tell one lie a day, at least. I was like, really? And I was thinking, do I? I was like, I guess when we pay someone a compliment but we don't really mean it, you know, like if we look at someone and say, oh, I like your hair, or nice new dress, or they're going, I've just had my hair cut. You have to go, oh, that's nice. Oh, it looks good, suits you, even if you don't think so. Maybe it means that sort of thing. I don't know. I really don't know. Oh, sorry, I've got to get my hanky out. But, so I was a bit confused by that. But that was that. And then but it was saying women are find it much harder to detect lies than men because they're more trusting. They don't expect people to lie. But then if we really are all lying every day, then wouldn't we expect everyone else to do the same? Don't know. That interested me a lot. I do know people that lie. I know people that lie a lot, really obviously. I know people who lie a little bit, you know, but just fascinating. So yes, it's been a really interesting book that I'm sort of reading through, and stuff about body language, even though it's not really a studied thing in psychology. It seemed to be a bit sort of pop psychology, as they say. Right, we're getting somewhere here. I'm going to use, maybe it's an unusual choice, this one. Now this is the lavender. Now of course this is the lavender that has been is no longer available to buy in many places. I don't know if this was a good choice. It'll work. I'll make it work like that. So I'm just sort of blending it all together with the lavender a bit at the bottom. Yeah, so you could use the orchid, yeah, instead. I don't think it will be significantly different. So I've got both the lavender and the orchid. I expect quite a few you have. I bought the new ones when I did a pencil order ages ago. I need to do one again, really. I was having a look. I was like, ooh. I put them on my wish list for now while I was thinking about it. Because obviously they're quite expensive. I need some polys and prismas. Also my supplier. I like calling her my supplier, sounds really naughty. She's actually out of some of the colours that I need. So I was sort of delaying anyway. I wanted it was a brown ochre in the polychromos that I needed mainly, and that was the one that she didn't have. I'm going to put on that. So yeah, that was a tad annoying, but anyway, I think she's restocked today, so I was like, should I get them? Should I get them? I haven't yet. I probably should, but anyway, sometimes I think it's good not to, and then you use others. So I used to always use the earth green yellowish and never the May green, and this is in polychromos, and so I didn't really, and then one day I didn't have an earth green yellowish, it had run out and I hadn't got round to replacing it. I used the May green. I was like, actually I like this better. So maybe it's a good idea to use different colours. Choose a longer one. I always think, I tend to, sometimes I grab a set of pencils that's nearly run out, like my Arteza Premium, and then just grab all the longest ones and colour with them. Now, I don't tend to do that in a picture like this. It tends to be like a mandala or something, like I'm a sort of practice piece, if you know what I mean, or if I'm just tired, I'm feeling a bit indecisive, I'm just putting a little bit under there as well, you know. Top of there. There we go. Now I am going to grab this one. This is the deco pink, and I'm going to sort of finish them all off now. So I'm going to take each petal and really go over it with this to try and smush everything together and do a sort of final layer, really. And then we would have finished our petals, I think, but I might change my mind, you know. Why is it a woman's prerogative to change her mind? Surely men are allowed to too. Politicians certainly aren't, are they? They're then accused of a U-turn. It's like, well, I realise that if you've decided that a policy is something you're going to stand by and people have voted for you for that reason, then I guess changing your mind probably doesn't seem very good. But on the other hand, if you try something and it doesn't work and it turns out that it's actually a bit rubbish, you need to be able to change your mind and go, no, actually, that didn't work. That was a bit silly. I'm not going to do that anymore. Admit your mistake and move on. But of course they're not allowed to make mistakes or admit they've made mistakes or anything like that. Oh, politics is an interesting game, isn't it? Because we've got elections coming up, everyone's campaigning and trying to look good and win your vote. Sometimes it can be very tiresome, but we don't know what's going to happen. I haven't made up my mind yet. I always sit on the fence for a while, and then I usually just get my ballot paper and then just tick a box. I did that for the local election in the end. When I looked at the ballot paper, I was like, well, I only know one of these people, so that's the only one I can vote for, you know. So, but that won't happen with the general election, of course, you're also thinking about the party as well as the person. I was trying to figure out who the candidates were. I quite like this now. This is quite different for me. I don't normally do a big mix of colours in this sort of way. And as I say, I did a Chris Cheng yesterday. And I sort of pinched some ideas off her. And just felt like really mixing up, making the plant look very different rather than doing each petal the same sort of colour. You know, mixing up a bit. I mean, they're obviously the same colour, but I think you know what I mean. I hope you do. Yeah, I'm trying to think. We've got, as far as I'm aware, we've got 4 candidates. So, and I only know 2 of them well, but that's because in our area, really, it's always been either one. The 2 main parties in our government are Conservative and Labour, and in our town we've always either been Conservative or Labour for a very, very long time. So really the other parties, they don't really make a big effort in our area because they're so unlikely to win. So we've sort of done these two now. Work on these. It just gives them a little bit more vibrancy and just smushes them together a bit and gets rid of a bit more of the white paper so they look a little bit more intense. But I'll put my hand on top of them there so you can't see. Yeah, so, but different towns have different balances. Like my old hometown, where I was born, they are either Liberal Democrat or Conservative. Liberal Democrats, for anyone who isn't sure, is they are sort of a central party. So Conservatives are right wing, Labour left wing, and Liberal Democrats sort of sit in the middle-ish. They don't sit exactly in the middle, so on some issues they're more right and some issues they're more left, I think. But there used to be a reasonably strong party, but unfortunately for them as a party, they formed a coalition with Conservatives on the premise saying, well, we're going to do this while we've got some power, and they didn't do what they said. They lost a lot of respect, and in the next election they lost loads of MPs, members of Parliament, because they went back on what they promised. So this is where, when I was saying earlier about U-turns, it can backfire on you badly. So it's, but it was quite an important one. Basically, he was saying that he wouldn't bring in student loans. Before student loans came in, we had a grant system where students would get free, basically they'd get free education, and for a while you would get your tuition fees for free, and then some people would be able to get money for their living expenses as well. And the rules have changed bits and pieces over the years, and then eventually became unsustainable because so many more people were going to university, and also the grants that you could get for living expenses were based on your income, and more lower income families were sending their children to university, which is fantastic but expensive. So they had to find a way to sort this out. So they changed it to a loan system like you have in America. But in the UK at the moment, it's a little bit better than America, as far as I'm aware. I mean, I don't know if it changes state to state and things like that, but I know in America you have to just repay your whole student loan and it could take your whole life. In the UK, that doesn't happen. After 30 years, I think they've just extended it to 40, your loan gets written off. So if you haven't repaid it by then, you don't have to repay it ever. Now this, the repayments are means tested, which means that once you reach a certain income level, they come out as part of your income tax within your tax code. So only the higher earners have to repay. Now, I have mixed feelings about loans. I had a free grant. Went to university for free, and I'm immensely grateful that I did that. Had we had to pay, I would never have gone. That's just the way it was. I'm going to use the black grape to do, oh, there it is, to do the little circles, and I'm going to try to make them a little bit lighter in the centre. So putting more layers around the edge, and then maybe just leaving a little bit, but it's quite difficult. I haven't really succeeded. But, you know, my children have had to borrow money to pay for their degree, and when they finish uni and go to work, they'll be repaying that as part of their salary. Now, that's not that bad, really. You know, that means they're repaying for what they've got, but you know, things are so expensive, houses are so expensive, rent is so expensive. With that as well, it's a lot, you know. So that's where it becomes a little bit concerning. Now I think, I'm looking at the time, it's nearly lunchtime. I'm looking at how long this video's been. I think I'm going to just add a final few touches to my flowers and then make this do for today. I want to just put a little bit in the middle, and I've had this wacky idea. Wacky for me. I'm a conformist. I don't have wacky ideas. But we'll see. Right, so what I'm going to do is grab a this colour. Oh, this is the dioxazine purple hue. I'm going to use this right in the centres. I don't want it too dark. I just want to create some depth in there, sort of shadowy depth with a slightly darker pencil. You don't have to do this, but I think it just, you know, makes them look a little bit more interesting. I'm not going to do it on where they're overlapping each other or anything like that, just where I'm absolutely sure it's a flower centre. Okay. Bit in there because we've got these, so we know this is the centre of the flower. It's just sitting behind the other one. Now you can smooth that in if you want. I quite like having it just sort of sitting there. My final touch is going to be on each of the little seeds. I'm going to use my jelly roll, and I'm just going to put a little bit of white on each of them, just to make it look like they've got a little bit of shine to them. And sorry, I'm concentrating and not talking. You might want to put some dots in the middle, but I think it would look pretty, but it doesn't quite feel like it's in keeping with the style of the flower, because we've got these darker sort of seed pods. Oops. If you don't have a white pen, obviously you can't do this. You could use a little dash of white pencil, it won't show as much. Or you could, when you colour it, leave a little white gap. I know it's a bit late now because you may have already coloured it, but for future. So here is our beginning. Let's just try and straighten you up a bit. There is the start. So we will, crack on with leaves and things tomorrow. But I think it's looking quite pretty. I've never tried this sort of mix of colours. I'm really pleased with how it's looking, so that's good. Yes, thank you for watching. I hope you have a really super day and happy colouring.